She leaped into the arms of a stranger, unaware he was a millionaire ready to change her life. The city buzzed with energy, the night alive with possibilities. In the midst of the chaotic streets, where dreams and despair collided, a moment unfolded that would change everything. A woman, drenched in fear and uncertainty, shot through the crowd. Her breaths were quick, her heart pounded like a drum in her chest, echoing the wild rhythm of the midnight city. She darted past faces, each one blending into the next, but to her, they were merely shadows of her past life. Then suddenly, without a single thought, she turned and leaped. It was a desperate act, arms flung wide, ready to embrace the unknown. Her eyes were wild, brimming with panic. When she collided into him, it was electric. The stranger was tall, with a presence that radiated confidence and security. His bewildered eyes met hers, and for that split second, the world around them faded away. An inexplicable connection sparked between them, as if destiny had forced their paths to intertwine at that very moment. Her heart raced not just from fear, but from the sheer thrill of what might await her next. Meanwhile, whispers rippled through the crowd like a silent wave. "Who is he?" someone gasped, eyes wide with curiosity. "Does he even know who she is?" Murmurs of judgment danced in the air, tangled with disbelief. Under the surface of excitement, there was a subtle tension that hung thick as fog. What unspoken truth was hidden in this encounter? Was she merely a girl running away from her life, or did she symbolize a choice he never knew he wanted to make? The uncertainty hung in the air. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The crowd watched, breaths held. She spotted something in his expression, a flicker of mischief mixed with intrigue. What was this man hiding? His sharp suit clung perfectly, hinting at wealth beyond measure, yet his gaze held a vulnerability she found disarming. Was he really what he seemed? A thrill of danger danced in the air, and she was drawn to it like a moth to flame. In that split second, everything began to change, her old life dissolving into a haze. She had no idea of the world he could open up for her, nor the darkness lurking behind his charisma. As their eyes locked, an electric thrill surged between them, grounding her in the moment yet catapulting her into uncertainty. What happens now? She thought. What life-altering adventures awaited her just because she took a chance? In that heartbeat, everything was possible, or perhaps everything was on the edge of disaster. Little did she know that this leap into the unknown would lead to secrets that could shatter or electrify their worlds. And as they stood there, frozen in time, the question loomed heavily. Would she fall into his embrace or tumble into chaos? As she stood there, suspended in his arms, time seemed to evaporate around them. The music from a nearby bar pulsed through the air, its rhythms underscoring the mounting intensity of their moment. The thrumming city buzzed on the edges of her consciousness, yet she felt like they were sealed in a world of their own, a universe beginning to spin with uncertain possibilities. "What is your name?" His voice broke through her haze, rich and warm, carrying a lilt of curiosity. "Jess," she managed to say, her breath hitching at the sudden intimacy of their connection. It felt strange to bear her identity to a stranger, yet something in her wanted to reveal it all, wanted to unravel the cautious layers she had wrapped herself in for so long. "Jess," he repeated, as if tasting the word. "I'm Alex." The name floated like a melody between them, light yet tantalizing. Still, a flicker of doubt pricked at her mind. Why did I jump into his arms? She thought, heart pounding. What if he is dangerous? What if he is just playing with me? The whispers from the crowd crescendoed, their judgment wrapping heavier around her. She could feel their eyes probing and appraising, filled with skepticism and intrigue. A knot formed in her stomach when she caught the glances of a few men, their expressions shifting from surprise to unmasked disdain. "Let us get out of here," Alex suggested, a hint of urgency in his tone. He took her hand, pulling her away from the prying eyes that bore down on them. She hesitated for just a moment, torn between her instincts and the pull toward this enigmatic stranger who offered an escape from her mundane reality. Alex led her through the crowded streets, weaving through clusters of people until they reached a quieter side street. The noises of the city faded into a comforting background hum. "Why were you running?" he asked, the concern in his voice softening the caution that had burrowed into her heart. With her pulse racing, Jess felt compelled to spill the truth, yet the words tangled in her throat. Did he risk his comfort to save her, or was there something about her that stirred his curiosity? "Just it's complicated," she finally replied, regretting the vague dismissal. Alex stopped walking, his gaze intensifying as he searched for the truth written on her face. "I can help you, Jess. But I need to know if you're in this with me." Something shifted. It was a profound moment, one that begged the question, could she trust him? Would revealing her secrets lead to a new beginning or catastrophic fallout? Before Jess could respond, a sharp shout echoed down the street, slicing through the night. "Hey! You?" It was a voice filled with anger, and suddenly a menacing figure broke through the shadows, moving toward them with an unnatural speed. "Run!" Alex urged, adrenaline amplifying their instinctual flight. In a flash, they were dashing down the alley, her heart pounding in sync with their frantic footsteps. The feeling of panic clawed at her gut. She grasped his hand tighter, needing the connection as they staggered into the night, hoping it would shield them from whatever chaos was stalking them. She could feel Alex's pulse, his urgency infecting her with energy. Was it fear or something deeper? In that breathless escape, Jess had to come to terms with the gravity of her leap of faith. Choosing a stranger could cost her everything or perhaps open the door to a world of untold adventure. What awaited her in the shadows, and could she fully embrace the choices now unfolding before her? But just as they turned the corner, a chilling reminder awaited them. A black luxury car screeched to a halt, blocking their path, and the door swung open ominously. "Get in!" A gloved hand extended, as an icy grin formed beneath the streetlight glow. What had she unknowingly thrown herself into, and was there a way back? Jess felt a surge of dread as the icy smile and gloved hand beckoned them into the car. She could see the sleek interior illuminated by dim, seductive lights, a stark contrast to the chaos of the night. A gut instinct warned her to turn and run, but Alex shifted beside her, his grip tightening on her hand. "Do we have a choice?" he said, a fierce protectiveness in his voice. "No, we don't." "Just go along with it," Jess breathed, the words tumbling from her lips almost before she knew what she was saying. She sensed that whatever awaited them could reveal answers not just about the threat chasing them, but about herself. As they approached the car, the driver leaned across the seat, revealing a tense jaw and shadowed eyes that hinted at irritation. "Hurry up," he barked, a tone that venomously punctured the lingering disbelief. Jess felt the energy shift, the air almost crackling as Alex pushed her gently inside before following. The interior was luxurious, the leather seats smooth against her skin, but the atmosphere felt almost stifling. The door slammed shut behind them, sealing them inside. She stole a quick glance at Alex. His expression was hard but resolute. It steadied her racing heart, if only slightly. "Now, how about some introductions?" The man driving turned slightly, a bemused chuckle escaping his lips. "I'm Marcus. And you two, you're in over your heads." "What do you mean?" Jess found her voice, trying to suppress the tremor that threatened to betray her fear. Those goons outside? They don't take kindly to people running from them. Marcus's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror, piercing through her bravado. You've stirred up some trouble. What did you do? Alex challenged, his voice low and stern, like a protective growl in the heavy silence. It's not about you. Marcus snapped back, flicking a glance at them before his focus returned to the road. Jess here is the one with the target on her back. The revelation hit hard, a slap that left Jess gasping. No, you've got it wrong. I didn't. He stop, Alex said, anger and confusion merging in his voice. What trouble is she in? Why are they after her? Complicated, like you said, Marcus replied, his tone veiled in equal parts annoyance and amusement. You'd do well to listen. It involves more than just some street thugs. This is way above both your pay grades. Jess scoffed at the irony. Her desperate flight had started out as a simple act of rebelling against her life, and now it had catapulted her into something far darker. Marcus exhaled. The deal is, there's someone who wants Jess badly, and they don't play nice. But I might be able to help if you're willing to cooperate. Why would you help us? Alex questioned, his eyes narrowing. The tension in the car thickened like fog, wrapping around them, and leaving little room for escape. Because, Marcus replied, his expression flickering between ruthless ambition and genuine intrigue, I can see potential in both of you. What do you mean by that? Jess blurted out, longing for clarity. They need a pawn. And you, Jess, you've caught the eye of some very powerful people. But you have options. Help could snatch you from the jaws of— He paused, searching for the right word. Disaster? But it will come at a cost. Alex leaned forward, intensity radiating from him. What kind of cost? Just looking out for your best interests. That's all, Marcus replied, a sly smile creeping over his face. You might find it more appealing than you think, or run into trouble that brings you deeper into hell. Jess's heart raced at the implications. She was being offered a lifeline, but at the price of her soul. As they sped deeper into the night, the city lights blurred past, and a new urgency gripped her. What were these powerful people willing to do to seize her? And was this the moment she would unwittingly sign a contract for chaos? An idea struck her, trusting Marcus could have seismic consequences, but her thoughts shattered as the engine roared loudly, jolting her from contemplation. Here we go, Marcus muttered, and Jess's heart plummeted as they approached an imposing building looming ahead, its facade dark and foreboding. What awaited them inside? Did she just dive deeper into a web woven by fate, or was there still a chance for escape? The next turn in her life might be the most dangerous yet. The car slowed as Marcus pulled up to the entrance of the ominous building. Jess could feel her heart thumping ferociously in her chest, a primal drum signaling danger at every beat. Shadows danced across the entrance as the headlights swept over intricate metalwork that adorned the door. Stay close, Alex whispered, his breath warm against her ear. She nodded, feeling the chill of fear creeping up her spine, but also a flicker of determination igniting within her. They could not waver now, not when clarity felt just a step away. As they exited the car, the towering structure loomed over them, dark and grand, its glass walls reflecting the city's chaotic energy. Marcus led the way, his stride confident and assured. Jess grasped Alex's hand tighter, their bond acting as a fragile shield against the unknown. Inside, the air was cooler and thick with the scent of mahogany and polished floors. Large, abstract paintings adorned the walls, their vivid colors clashing against the muted atmosphere. A glimmer of hope flickered within Jess, but it was quickly snuffed out by the oppressive silence that wrapped around them. Marcus didn't break stride as he led them through the lavish lobby filled with well-dressed figures, all glancing at the trio with curious, calculating eyes. Jess felt exposed under their scrutiny, a fish out of water, flailing with uncertainty. She turned to Marcus, ready to demand answers, but the look on his face silenced her. He seemed focused, laser-like in his intentions. Just as they ascended an ornate staircase, a voice sliced through the silence. "Marcus, what do you think you're doing?" It was a woman, tall and sharp-featured, with an air of authority that was hard to ignore. Her gaze locked onto Jess, a predatory glint lurking beneath the surface. "You brought her here?" she asked. "The one we've been waiting for, Helena," Marcus responded, his voice steady. "You know the urgency. Now, we need to work together." Helena raised an eyebrow, the corners of her mouth twitching in disapproval. "I don't trust this. You shouldn't either." "Give me a break," Alex interrupted, stepping protectively in front of Jess. "What does everyone want with her?" A tension crackled in the air, sharp enough to cut. Jess felt the panic rise within her, clawing up her throat until it became a bitter taste on her tongue. "What are you all talking about? Why me?" "Look around," Helena said, gesturing with a flick of her wrist. "You're here because you're valuable. But trust is a luxury we don't have." Jess felt a rush of adrenaline. "What the hell does that mean? What am I valuable for?" She was shouting now, frustration and fear mingling in a storm, as the weight of their gazes bore down on her. "Calm down," Marcus barked, but there was a hint of unease edging his tone. This isn't what it seems, but Jess wasn't listening anymore. The understanding began to dawn on her. She was being drawn into a game far beyond her comprehension. Every interaction, every pointed look was a piece on a grand chessboard where her life would be forfeit if she played poorly. "What game am I a part of?" Jess demanded, desperation rising in her voice as she felt the world spin on its axis. "I don't want any part of this if it means." Before she could finish her thought, the room suddenly felt colder. A deep, guttural noise echoed from somewhere deep inside the building, sending chills spiraling through her body. The lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the stunned faces in the room. "Get her away from the staircase!" someone shouted, panic taking over the once controlled atmosphere. The crowd parted, and without thinking, Jess grabbed Alex's arm tightly, the thrill of the unknown taking her by surprise. With her heart in a vice, she caught Marcus's eye, searching for any hint of reassurance, but all the confidence had drained from the lines of his face. "Stick with me if you want to survive," he said, urgency thickening his voice. As they turned to retreat, the ominous noise morphed into a cacophony, a wave of chaos crashing at their backs. Jess's breath quickened, a new truth dawning upon her. There was no escape now. In the heart of the storm, she felt the full weight of her choices closing in around her. What was waiting out there, lurking beyond the shadows? And would they be ready when the reckoning came? She held on to Alex, knowing they had to act fast. The truth loomed ahead, but the path was fraught with danger. Would they find the strength to confront it, or would they become pawns in a game they never asked to join? The tremors of chaos echoed through the building as Jess and Alex rushed deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, where flickering lights cast eerie shadows that seemed to stretch and grasp at their feet. Jess's heart raced like a trapped animal, pounding against her ribs as they maneuvered through the dimly lit hallways. The growls and shrieks from the gathering outside fused into a terrifying symphony of dread. "Where do we go?" Jess gasped, her voice barely a whisper. Panic bubbled beneath her skin as they stumbled their way through glossy marble floors, every footstep feeling heavier than the last. "Keep moving," Marcus urged, his voice strained and clipped, reflecting an urgency that stoked Jess's own fears. "We need to find the exit." Alex flanked her side, his grip firm on her arm, as though anchoring her to this moment. She could feel the adrenaline flowing through him, a steady pulse of energy as they darted past numerous doors, all locked or darkened. The tension was like hot air, thick and suffocating. Suddenly Marcus stopped short and whipped around, his expression shifting from frantic to focused. "This way," he shouted, pointing to a door at the end of a corridor, partially ajar with a sliver of light spilling out. Without a second thought, they sprinted toward it, the shadows clawing at their heels. "Are you insane?" Jess wheezed, noticing the sweat forming on Marcus's brow. "What if it's a trap? Do you have a better idea?" he shot back, his voice raw with desperation. They shared a brief frantic look before he pushed the door open. They tumbled inside, instantly met by a sudden silence that was almost tangible. The room was dimmed, intricately decorated, but Jess felt an unsettling energy radiating from the space. It was as if everything was watching them, walls lined with portraits, their eyes glimmering in the dark. "We need to barricade the door," Alex urged, rushing over to a heavy table, dragging it toward the entrance. Jess joined him, her body trembling with the sheer weight of their fears. "You'll see," Marcus murmured, retreating to the far corner of the room. He scanned the area, pupils dilated like a hunting animal. "Just trust me." "Trust? That SA joke right now," Jess replied, trying to mask the trembling in her voice as she flicked her gaze back toward the door. Each second felt like a countdown to a detonation she couldn't control. Helena's earlier words echoed in her mind. "You're valuable." But trust is a luxury. What did they want from her? The fear coiling in her gut threatened to churn into something darker. Then, as if someone had pulled the strings of fate, the door rattled violently. A deep thud reverberated through the walls, making Jess jump. "Hold it! Someone is trying to get in!" Alex shouted, their movements frantic, as they bolstered the makeshift barricade with other furniture. "Get this damn door shut!" Marcus barked, adrenaline making his voice sharper, but Jess noticed the slight tremor in his hands, the flicker of doubt flashing in his eyes. With a final desperate effort, they managed to secure the door. Jess breathed hard, every echo from the hallway sounding like a threat, every creak of the wood a herald of doom. "What is our next move?" Alex turned to Marcus, demanding clarity in the chaos. Jess felt her heart skip. Something about Marcus's focus was shifting, like he knew more than he was letting on. But before Marcus could answer, the lights in the room dimmed dramatically, plunging them into semi-darkness. A suffocating silence settled. And then nothing. The shadows seemed to pulse, wrapping around them tighter. Out of that dark silence, a voice emerged, smooth like velvet but laced with danger. "I see you've found your way into the heart of it all." It sent a shiver down Jess's spine. A figure stepped into the dim light, a man with an icy demeanor and a knowing smile. Jess's instinct screamed at her, warning against the allure emanating from him. "Welcome, Jess," he purred, an unsettling glint in his eye. "You're exactly who we've been waiting for." Her breath hitched. That name echoed through her thoughts, sparking an inferno of panic and confusion. What did he know? Before she could process anything further, darkness engulfed the room entirely, and a deafening crash erupted from behind the barricade. Something was breaking through whatever game was being played. It was reaching a fever pitch. Jess's mind reeled, questions bursting forth. What did they want from her? Who was this man? And most frighteningly, what awaited them on the other side of that door? The sound of shattering would pierce the air, gluing her to the spot, breathless and paralyzed. Would they make it out alive? Or would the truth consume them all? And what role would Jess play in this horrifying tale? The answers lurked just out of reach, but time was running out. The air vibrated with an ominous tension as the crash echoed, splintering the silence of the dim room. Jess's heart hammered against her chest, its chaotic rhythm drowning out the horrifying reality that was dawning upon her. The table they had shoved against the door groaned under the pressure from whatever was trying to force its way in, its metal legs screeching against the polished floor. "Keep at it," Marcus shouted, breathless, as he threw his weight against the barricade, his face twisted in panic. Alex was already there, muscles straining, desperately pushing back as if he could will the door to remain intact. Yet the sounds of splintering wood grew louder, accompanied by growls, deep, guttural utterances that sent chills skidding along Jess's spine. "What is that?" Jess's voice was barely audible, swallowed by the chaos. Fear twisted through her gut like a coiling snake. "Don't think about it," Marcus snapped, his eyes darting towards the growing fissures in the door. "Just hold it." But how long could they possibly hold it? Jess felt an icy numbness creeping into her limbs. Couldn't he just stand there and do nothing? Couldn't he let dread consume her? Taking a deep, steadying breath, she glanced around the room, searching for something, anything that could help them. The man with a chilling smile stood back, eyes glinting with a strange delight as if he thrived on their terror. "You don't understand, Jess. They want you, and I can give you what you desire most. Freedom." His voice slithered through her defenses, stirring something inside her. Freedom? Was that what this was about? But his proposition felt like a predator's lure more than an offer. Jess shook her head, unwilling to be ensnared by his charm. "If you're here to help, then do something," she shouted back. "Ah, but it's not just about saving you, is it?" His smile widened as if enjoying a private joke. "It's about embracing your true potential. The power you possess." "Shut up," Jess screamed, a surge of rage propelling her forward. "We don't need your nonsense." But the howls from outside grew louder, harmonizing with the bursting sounds around them. Frantic whispers filled her head, urging her to think, to strategize. Then, she spotted an ornate glass object atop a nearby shelf, a heavy crystal vase. It could be used as a weapon, a last resort means of survival. "Alex." "Marcus." Jess pointed urgently. "Cover me." She dashed across the room, ignoring the tremors in her legs, ignoring the weight of their frustration and fear behind her. As she reached the shelf, she barely registered the way the man's gaze seemed to change from playful to calculating, assessing her every movement. Taking the vase in her hands felt empowering, the cool glass weighed heavily, like a promise of protection. But before she could turn back, the door shuddered violently, penetrating her thoughts. "Jess!" Alex's voice was frantic. "Hurry up. It's getting through." Jess's breath caught as she turned, ready to return to her friends. But when she glanced back, her heart dropped. The figure, no longer just a curious observer, was now near the door, his aura darkening the warm glow of desperation that surrounded them. "Join me, Jess. You don't want to miss this dance." She froze, caught in an enchanting trap where horror and seduction entwined. Just then, the door burst open with a deafening crash, sending her tumbling back against the shelf. From the darkness of the corridor beyond, forms poured into the room, shapes twisting into monstrous silhouettes. Their eyes glittered with hunger as they surged forward, drawn to Jess with feral intent. "Now choose fast," the man's voice called out, a taunt woven into his words. The door to the unknown was wide open, and both consequences and possibilities dangled in front of her like a ripe fruit. Her heart raced. What was her choice? The blinding chaos of those creatures, or the chilling allure of the man who claimed he could set her free? In that fleeting moment, she understood a decision loomed before her, shimmering with peril. And as the shadows lunged, Jess faced the ultimate test of will. Would she step into the darkness, or fight for the flicker of light that remained? The air exploded with chaos. Screams, despair, and the chilling laughter of the man shot through the room as the line between salvation and downfall blurred. Each second dragged like an eternity, teetering on the brink. What would she dare to risk to save herself? The true game had just begun, and Jess was at its center, clinging to choices as the darkness clawed closer. Jess barely had time to process what was happening as the door exploded open, sending splinters flying in every direction. She stumbled, the glass vase clattering from her grasp, the sound muted by the hellish roar enveloping her. The shadows surged forward, forming an ever closer net of terror, and Jess's instincts kicked in. "Alex! Marcus!" She screamed again, her voice sharp against the cacophony. They were struggling, grappling with the grotesque forms that clawed their way into the room. There was time to think. The creatures were hungry, their mouths gaping wide, revealing rows of teeth that glistened menacingly under the flickering overhead light. With desperation coursing through her veins, Jess lunged for the fallen vase, quickly grasping it as if it were a lifeline. She could feel their hot breath wafting through the charged air, twisting her stomach into knots of panic. The man, with a devilish smile, was now dangerously close, his eyes gleaming with a dark delight as he watched the chaos unfold. "Join me, Jess," he beckoned again, his voice smooth and persuasive. "You can be so much more than what you are. Let go of your fear." "Shut up." Her voice cracked, each word a battle against the adrenaline roaring through her body. Despite the overwhelming terror, Jess could feel a strange draw, an urge to understand what he meant. Was he really offering her freedom? Or was it yet another trick, another way to ensnare her? She needed a plan. They needed a plan. There were two more of them, her friends, no family. If there was a chance to fight, to survive, she had to take it. Turning her back to the man, she shouted, "We fight back together. We can't let them take us." Marcus nodded, determination replacing fear. "For once, I agree. We need to hold them off." As if spurred by her words, the two rallied, readying themselves for an immediate defense. Marcus found a chair to wield like a weapon, while Alex grabbed a nearby lamp, its bulb flickering with a desperate glow. Their combination of makeshift armor and raw intent transformed the room into an arena, where chaos and resolve collided. But the creatures didn't falter. They surged in, their guttural growls resonating with every heartbeat. Jess swung the vase, aiming for the closest target. It connected with a sickening thud, shattering under the force, shards glittering like dangerous stars. "Keep moving. We need an exit," Jess shouted, adrenaline sharpening her focus. In the mayhem, she saw at a window behind Alex, slightly ajar. It was their only lifeline, a chance at escape. "That's it. We can get out through there." Just as she pointed it out, a hideous creature lunged, razor-like claws aimed at her. Jess ducked just in time, adrenaline pumping, her instinct for survival taking over. "Alex! Now! Cover me!" he yelled, brandishing the lamp like a weapon and swinging it toward the beast. Another growl thundered from behind, and Marcus swung his chair forcefully into another creature, its body crashing to the floor with a heavy thump. They were fighting desperately, but the odds weren't in their favor. "Go! I'll hold them back," Marcus barked, determination written all over his face. "No! We go together," Jess shouted, already moving toward the window, panic overtaking her words. The man with the gleaming eyes stood by, shadowed by despair. "This is your moment, Jess. Step into the dark if you wish to find the light." He was wrong. No darkness could entrap her now. Jess vaulted toward the window, her heart pounding in rhythm with the chaos erupting behind her. She climbed, her fingers slipping on the frame as she fought against everything clawing at her mind. Suddenly, a hand gripped her ankle, yanking her back. "Jess!" Alex screamed, horror rising in his voice as the creatures closed in. With one last mighty push, she kicked off the creature with her free leg, the strength of her survival instinct allowing her to break free just long enough. Jess lunged through the window, and the world beyond blurred into a rush of night air and desperation. She landed hard on the ground outside, breath escaping her in gasps. The chaos inside faded slightly, but fear clung to her. Was it over, or had they merely traded one prison for another? Just as she scrambled to roll away from the building, the familiar voice of the man echoed from behind her. "Choose wisely, Jess. This was just the beginning. With her heart racing, unsure of what lay ahead, Jess looked back at the shattered remnants of her life and the choices yet to come. Now, with the darkness shifting just behind her, would she find the strength to confront what chased her, or would she fall victim to the shadows that beckon? The ground felt cold and hard beneath Jess as she lay there, heart banging like a war drum in her chest. The shadows from the house loomed large behind her, breathing like a living thing. Desperation consumed her thoughts. She couldn't just lie there. She needed to move, but the gravity of fear held her down. "Alex! Marcus!" she cried, voice cracking under pressure. With trembling hands, she pushed herself up, scanning the area for any sign of them. The world outside was eerily silent, a stark contrast to the chaos she had just escaped. The dim light of the moon barely illuminated the nearby trees, their branches like skeletal fingers pointing ominously into the night. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the broken window she had leapt from. She winced, knowing it could mean her friends were still inside, fighting for their lives. They couldn't be far behind. Rising to her feet, she stumbled away from the building. Every instinct told her to run, but she hesitated, torn between fleeing and turning back. "No!" she barked at herself, shaking her head clear. "I can't leave them." With resolve igniting inside her, she headed around the side of the house. She hushed her breathing, her ears straining for any sound, screams, growls, anything. Just as she rounded the corner, she spotted Alex and Marcus emerging from the door. Marcus held the door open, his face a mixture of relief and panic. "Over here!" Alex shouted, waving his arm frantically. But as she darted toward them, the darkness behind her lurched, shadows spilling out like floodwaters. The man's voice slithered through the chilling night air once more. "You should have chosen the dark, Jess. You've only delayed the inevitable." Just then, a creature burst from the shadows, fangs bared and claws extended. Jess reached for anything to defend herself, but nothing was within reach. Alex swung the lamp with all his might, striking the creature in the side. It recoiled, shrieking eerily before retreating into the shrouded night. "Move! Now!" Marcus yelled, and the three of them sprinted down the street, the sounds of the unnatural pursuit echoing behind them. Adrenaline surged through Jess, urging her to run faster, but the chilling reminder of the man's shadowy promise lingered. As they dashed into an alley, Jess could barely process the looming question taking shape in her thoughts. What did he mean by the beginning? But there was no time for answers, only survival. They halted in a narrow passage, breathless and trembling. The walls seemed to close in around them, suffocating. "We need a plan," Alex gasped, trying to catch his breath as he leaned against the wall. "We can't keep running forever." Jess nodded, her mind racing. "What if we lure them away? Find a place to barricade ourselves until morning?" "Are you crazy?" Marcus shot back, eyes wide. "Where would we even go?" "Maybe to that abandoned shop down at the end of the street. It looks sturdy." Jess pointed. The structure stood ominously at the end of the alley, shrouded in shadows. Alex hesitated. "It's a risk." "A better risk than standing here," Jess urged, her voice steady. "We can't let them corner us." Just as they assessed their options, a piercing scream filled the air, echoing from the darkness behind them, sending a wave of dread rolling through Jess's stomach. "What was that?" Marcus said, wide-eyed. "I don't know," Jess replied, fear paralyzing her. Suddenly, the realization hit hard. It could be someone else. "We can't just leave them." The shadows crackled as another creature emerged, its eyes glimmering with hunger. Jess's heart raced again, but now it was mixed with urgency. "Let us go! Now!" They turned, sprinting toward the abandoned shop, but just then, the door creaked open. A figure stood silhouetted against the dim light inside. Jess skidded to a halt, her heart pounding as they caught their breath. Who are you? Marcus shouted, eyes narrowing, suspicion etched in his features. Trust me, if you all want to survive, come inside. The figure called, voice steady and urgent. Jess hesitated, uncertainty creeping in, but desperation overshadowed her fears. Just as they moved to enter the shop, a thunderous roar erupted behind them. The shadows surged forward, hungry and relentless. Would they step into the unknown, risking everything, or would they succumb to the darkness that chased them? The figure in the doorway held out a hand, beckoning them closer. Jess's heart raced as she caught a glimpse of their features, a strong jaw, piercing eyes, and an urgency that seemed to radiate from the depths of the dimly lit shop. Don't just stand there, the figure yelled, urgency dripping from each syllable. They're coming! The roar of a creature, guttural and primal, echoed through the alley. The shadows behind them writhed and pulsed, inching forward. Jess felt the air grow heavier, a suffocating embrace that threatened to swallow them whole. Go! Alex shouted, his voice trembling. He pushed Jess toward the figure. Without thinking, she stumbled inside, followed closely by Marcus and Alex. They stood in the shop, the heavy door slamming shut behind them, thundering like a heartbeat in the silence. Dust motes danced in the beam of the overhead light, illuminating the cluttered space that smelled of old wood and something metallic. Boxes lay scattered around, remnants of bygone commerce. Lock it! Marcus yelled, fidgeting with the door handle. The figure rushed over, bracing the heavy wooden door, as the first heavy thud came from the other side. Here, help me! The stranger motioned to an axe propped against the wall. Jess's hands were trembling as she grabbed it, the weight familiar yet alien in her grip. Together, they wedged the axe between the door and the floor, the wood creaking ominously under the pressure. What was that outside? Marcus managed to breathe, panic creeping back into his voice. The stranger turned to face them fully, eyes scanning each of their faces. I can explain later, but right now, we need to keep the door shut. What do you mean you can explain later? Jess shot back, her fear ignited into anger. You dragged us in here. We don't even know who you are. Names don't matter. What matters is survival. He took a step closer, the fluorescent light casting harsh shadows across his face. They're not just creatures. They're hunters, and they will find you if you don't stay quiet. The door shook, rattled by the weight of whatever lurked outside. A low growl reverberated, harmonizing with Jess's tightening throat. Do you realize what is happening? Alex interrupted, his voice barely above a whisper. Those things, they were after us. They attacked our friend. The stranger's jaw clenched. I know. You're not safe here. You shouldn't have been out there in the first place. But right now, focus on barricading. We need to seal this place up. With frantic urgency, they began pushing boxes and debris against the windows, the low growl and sinister scratching growing louder. Every sound seemed to echo their fear, a cacophony of survival instincts. Jess worked alongside Marcus and Alex, adrenaline fueling her movements, but her mind spiraled with confusion. Why were you there? Jess demanded, casting a glance at the stranger. What are you hiding? The figure paused, capturing her gaze with an intensity that sent a chill down her spine. You wouldn't believe me even if I told you. But let us just say I've been waiting for this. She frowned, heart pounding harder. Waiting for what? But before she could demand an answer, the sound of splintering would cut through the space. Panic surged, and Jess found her thoughts racing ahead, weighing their choices, calculating odds like a ticking clock. Get back! The stranger shouted as a clawed hand crashed through the door frame, grasping for them. Instinct kicked in, and Jess swung the axe at the arm with a fierce desperation. The creature howled in anguish and withdrew, leaving fragments of wood splintered and shattered around them. But the door began to bend. They needed a plan fast. "Does anyone have a weapon?" she gasped, her hands slick with sweat. "I have a knife," Alex said, pulling it from his pocket and glancing at the stranger. "What else can we do? This isn't going to hold them." "Follow my lead," the stranger replied, determination igniting in his eyes. "Trust me on this. We fight together, or we don't fight at all." And as the monster outside roared with renewed fury, Jess felt the swell of dread return, threatening to sweep them away. They had little time and even less hope, but they couldn't let this be how it ended. The stranger stepped forward, readying himself as the door cracked again, a menacing promise wrapping around them. Would they survive this night of terror, or would darkness drag them back into the night? The weight of urgency sat heavy in the air as Jess, Alex, and Marcus braced themselves in that cramped shop. The relentless pounding on the door echoed in their hearts like a countdown. The door trembled again, splintering more with each impact. They couldn't move from their makeshift sanctuary, couldn't give in to despair. "What do we do?" Marcus shouted, the sound barely piercing through the chaos. The stranger, whose name remained a mystery, was already sizing up the space, his mind racing with options. "Jess," he called, pointing to a nearby window, "we might be able to climb out, but we have to act fast." "No!" she cried, panic rising in her throat. "What if those things are waiting outside?" "They're already here," he roared back, exasperation flickering in his eyes. "We need to decide now. Stay and fight, or take our chances." Just then, the door rattled more violently, a wood splinter cracking yesterday's calm into shards of impending doom. The fierce growl from the other side sent waves of fear cascading through Jess's body, instinct firing every nerve in her. "Together," Jess urged, gripping her axe firmly. "We can't let them in." "On three," the stranger said, his voice commanding, despite the chaos. 1, 2. The door crashed inward with a thunderous impact. Splintered wood flew through the air like shrapnel, and a monstrous claw breached the threshold, gnarled and vicious. They wouldn't have time for a countdown. "Now!" Jess screamed, brandishing her axe and swinging with all her strength at the monstrous arm that had intruded their sanctuary. The blade bit deep, causing the creature to roar in pain, retracting its arm as the claws slipped back into the dark. But there was time to celebrate the small victory. The rest of the creature rapidly blasted through, fully entering, its presence nearly overwhelming, hunger oozing from its slick skin, teeth gnashing. The other two surged forward with their weapons ready, adrenaline pulsing through them like a lifeline. With a roar, Alex swung his knife. It slashed through the air, barely grazing the creature's jagged side, but it was enough to draw its attention. "Keep moving," he yelled, backing up towards the windows with Jess and Marcus at his side. "They'd have to fixate on survival long enough to get away." "Help me with this," the stranger said, pointing to a heavy cabinet against the wall. Together, they shoved it across the room, just as the creature leaped at Alex, its teeth snapping dangerously close. The impact sent him stumbling back into Jess. "Help!" he cried, struggling to regain his footing as the creature lunged. Jess felt panic rise as she turned, preparing to fight, when the stranger's voice cut through the chaos. "Axe? Now!" Instinctively, she thrust the axe into his hands as the creatures poured in, their eyes glinted with malevolence. In that fleeting moment, a burning desire for survival solidified into clarity. Her friends were counting on her. "What do you plan to do?" Jess shouted, the thrumming panic rising in her throat. "Stand back." He unleashed a furious swing with her axe, hacking at the nearest beast, cleaving through flesh and sinew with raw audacity, a determination that surprised even her. The creature howled before collapsing, filling the room with a hollow thud. The way the stranger moved was precise and terrifying. The flicker of hope ignited in Jess, urging her to remain steadfast. "Now! We push!" Panic turned to resolve, and they rushed toward the archway, where the monster lay still, its eyes now dulled. "Go! Go!" Jess shouted, pushing Alex and Marcus toward the exit. They burst forth into the alley, desperation flooding their senses, but the outside world offered no comfort. The darkness loomed threateningly, a reminder of every moment they had ventured closer to danger. With adrenaline coursing through their veins, they sprinted. Jess could feel the pulse of her heart ringing in her ears as they veered down a narrow street. The figure now revealed as a true guardian rushed ahead, pulling them deeper into the night, away from the chaos they had narrowly escaped. "This way," he called, leading them into a nearby park, the tangled roots and gnarled trees casting stretching shadows against the stark moonlight. Who are you?" Jess managed to ask as they slowed, breathless and coated in adrenaline. "I'm someone who knows what you're running from, Jess," he said, his face grim. "But there are more than just monsters lurking in the night. This goes way deeper than you could imagine. Trust me, you have to listen." His intense gaze bore into hers, and she could see shadows of doubt, of battles fought and lost, coating the depths of his soul. They were all just trying to survive, in a world where chaos reigned and hope was often a flickering ember. "Where do we go now?" Alex asked, trying to catch his breath. "There's an old safe house nearby," the stranger said. "It's secluded. We can plan from there." A moment of indecision passed among them, but Jess felt that sliver of choice looming. She glanced between her friends and the enigmatic stranger. Could she trust someone who appeared at this crossroads, or would it lead them into deeper darkness? "All right," she said, heavy resolve anchoring her words. "Lead the way." With that decision, Jess pushed aside her fears and embraced the unknown, the shadows behind them still whispering threats. They wouldn't let the night defeat them. No matter what lurked out there, they would fight for their future. The shadows may stretch long, but Jess was ready to reshape them with her own light. As they moved forward into the depth of uncertainty, fortitude grew stronger. This was only the beginning of a journey that demanded everything. But she would not face it alone. Don't you dare miss the next chapter. Subscribe immediately to this channel so you don't miss our exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And I want you to flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about Jess and her friends. Share your reactions with us. You need to show your support. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see what happens next. Your engagement keeps us going.